The following recording is a production of Kickin' Out at 2 in conjunction with the WrestleMania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network and is intended for private use only. For more information, head on over to facebook.com/Kickin' Out at 2 or our Twitter handle @Kickin' Out 2, along with searching Retromania with a W on any and all podcast platforms available to listen to archive shows such as this and all the great content of the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network. Evergreen content at your fingertips anytime at your listening pleasure. And with that being said, we thank you for listening and hope you enjoy the show. We end 2022 with a special request here on Kickin' Out at 2 as we're going to be watching WWF this Tuesday in Texas from 1991, December the 3rd, 1991. Over 30 years that event took place. We're going to watch it with all of you here on Kickin' Out at 2, the last Kickin' Out at 2 of 2022. And joining me for this special watch-along. Thanks to longtime listener Nick Opalewski, by the way. Thank you so much, Nick. Always appreciate your input on content to watch on Kickin' Out at 2, as well as the rest of the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network. But joining me, as always, actually, no, it's been a while since you've been on this program. My good buddy, my dearest, close, personal, longtime friend, my oldest friend. We actually watched, the last time we did this, we watched SummerSlam 1991. A little over a year ago, which is one of our top downloaded shows. So you should be very proud of that. Dean Yalanis, what's up, buddy?
Thank you so much for having me again, Dave, and hello to all your listeners. And thank you again for having me. Let's get it underway.
Let's do this. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're not going to give you all the cheap plugs because you know where to find us. You better know where to find us. And if you don't know where to find us, then the opening the opening promotional consideration paid for by the following should tell you where you can find Kickin' Out at 2. But you go to the PeaCOCK, you go to the Cock, and you search This Tuesday in Texas. It runs 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 25 seconds. And when I say play, press play. From time to time, we're going to jack up the audio. When just in case we need to document something that's taking place, like some promo, shit like that. I might even do that for this opening part here. It's Mean Gene Okerlund following the Undertaker Survivor Series victory over Hulk Hogan. This was this Tuesday in Texas pay-per-view. It was like an experiment to add another pay-per-view to the schedule. Just after Survivor Series. So this is the event that sets the table for the 1992 Royal Rumble, which we'll discuss later as we go back and watch this. So find This Tuesday in Texas, 1 hour, 33 minutes, 25 seconds on the PeaCOCK, and when I say play, press play. Audio's going to be up, so mute yours, and let's do the thing. You ready?
Ready. Let's do it.
All right, buddy. 3, 2, 1, play.
Here in the catacombs, in the bowels, if you will, of Joe Louis Arena, where I have finally found the new World Wrestling Federation champion,
Props
The
to Mean
Undertaker.
Gene, one of the greatest
Manager
announcers
Paul
ever.
Flair, you
Yes.
cannot
For
be
sure.
happy with the decision of President Jack Tunney ordering the rematch this Tuesday in Texas with your man, The Undertaker, facing the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Oh, Mr. Okerlund, nothing is immortal, not even Hulkamania. Hulkamania died right here this very evening. Oh, yes.
I miss the characters
Mr.
like Paul
Okerlund,
Bearer.
Yes.
something dies, you hold
Paul
the
Bearer was a
services
good one.
almost immediately, but not in
Very
the case
fitting
of
for the Undertaker
Hulkamania.
character, of course.
We'll hold him over, yes, right in the embalming room of my funeral parlor, and sometime between now and Tuesday, we will eviscerate him. Oh yes, eviscerate his glowing flesh. Oh, that stench.
We warned you what was in store for Hulk Hogan. And now, Mr. Okerlund, let me enlighten you what we have in store for Hulkamania. Look into the coffin. You look, Mr. Okerlund. Look. Hulkamania. It died at Survivor Series.
Gene's face.
Now, the only thing left is this Tuesday. The burial.
Wow. Very ominous way to begin the program as we go forth with this Tuesday in Texas here on the PeaCOCK, if you will. Chosen by Nick Opalewski. So yeah, it's very fitting. December, the last kicking out at 2 of 2022, as we watch this pay-per-view event. Let me ask you, Dean. You don't watch a whole lot of wrestling these days. Have you caught any wrestling at all in 2022?
Very, very briefly.
Very briefly. Okay, what have you seen? What have you watched? What has caught your eye of the wrestling that you did?
Nothing that much, to be honest with you. It's the old stuff that resonates with me.
Okay. Yep. Like what I cover on this podcast.
Basically, all the old stuff, man. It's nostalgia city for me.
Yep.
I mean, even
it's so nostalgic. The last time I was at your house, which was just recently, you still have a fucking VCR.
Yes, I do. Actually.
You have not gotten with the times.
Oh, I'm definitely with the times. I just like to stay with the old times and also the new times.
Oh, okay. All right. So you so you travel back.
Respect to the old school.
Okay.
While living in the new school.
Okay. All right. I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
I can appreciate that. When was the last time you used your VCR?
Oh, okay. It's been a while.
It's been a little bit?
Definitely been a while.
Okay.
Definitely been a while.
All right.
I must give praise to the greatest, my opinion again, the greatest announcing team of all time.
Yep,
I the brain.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think as
good
as Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were during their time, Bobby Heenan and Gorilla had chemistry like no other. As we see the Hitman Bret Hart making his way down to the ring for the opening match against Skinner for the Intercontinental Championship. Quite the matchup.
I definitely think so. The opening is amazing. You got Gene Mean,
as Iron Sheik would say. Gene Mean.
Going into Gorilla and Bobby Heenan. Good Lord. Okay, we get the Hitman. IC champ.
Yep.
Ready to go.
Not long after defeating Mr. Perfect at that SummerSlam that we watched for the Intercontinental Championship. I got a question to ask you.
What's
you watch a fair amount of older stuff, shoot interviews, things like that. Have you been following in the news lately the comments that Bret Hart has made towards Goldberg?
I have not seen that. I've seen some of the stuff of Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Hitman was great and amazing, and I wish he knew that. I feel like he feels like he didn't get his just due, and I think he's a staple in wrestling.
I think he knows that he's great. I just think he wishes that he had a better ending to his in-ring career than he did, which I understand, from his standpoint. His in-ring career was taken away from him due to a mistake. Goldberg has apologized multiple times publicly, and from what I've heard in person to Bret regarding the incident. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I definitely know what you're talking about.
Okay.
It was the kick to the head
that
set him back.
That's Starrcade. Yep, the Starrcade in 1999.
Yeah.
So it was unfortunate because Bret's exit from WWF with the screw job, and then not long after that, his arrival in the WCW, his character. His presence on TV in WCW wasn't what we would have expected of Bret Hart. He definitely deserved more. WCW mishandled the way Bret Hart was portrayed. And then once I felt like they were starting to get on track where he was a focal point of the show and he wasn't just a background character, things are cut short with the kick by Goldberg. So, but I mean, personally, I'll be honest with you, I think he needs to let it go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. How do you think, coming off the biggest screw job ever or biggest work, we really don't know. Could be the biggest work.
You know what?
How do you think WCW handled that?
Let me offer a cheap plug here, my friend, because a couple of months back, actually not too long ago, probably about over a month ago, we discussed that in the archives, marking out the days. What if the Montreal Screwjob was a legitimate work? What if it was an elaborate storyline and Bret never left the WWF? There's all kinds of different creative scenarios and possibilities that Kobe and myself had discussed. You can find that in the archives. It's one of our most downloaded shows right now at Retromania. So if you're looking to go down the rabbit hole a little bit and get your creative juices flowing, I suggest you hit the download button. What if? Marking out the days. Montreal Screwjob being a work. Go find it in the archives. But I'm sorry, your question? Did I just totally throw you off there?
No.
Plug
away, my friend. Plug away. But, I mean, it just seems like... I do think sometimes it was a work, which is great. And if it wasn't a work, they should play it off like a work. But coming off of this WWE or WWF at that time run, going into WCW after that whole big event, why didn't they capitalize on Bret Hart being Bret Hart? They brought him as a referee. Why wouldn't you capitalize on Bret Hart?
So, all right. So, I'm not against the idea that they brought him in as a referee, given the fact that that he left the WWF because the referee rang the bell and he didn't submit. Okay? So, kind of playing off of that, I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have with it was what took place moving forward. Bret's role in the finish at Starrcade against Hogan and Sting, which we've approached the 25-year anniversary of that this month. His role in that, he was kind of pushed off to the side. You know, if you go back and you watch that Starrcade finish, Hogan drops the big leg. He goes for the cover. Referee Nick Patrick, there's some controversy surrounding whether he was supposed to make a fast count. Whatever the case may be, Bret's involvement in the match, then because he was a referee in the Larry Zbyszko Eric Bischoff match, that sets his involvement in the finish to Sting and Hogan. Nothing came of that with Bret. They pivoted him to Ric Flair. And it was like they wanted to get the match with him and Flair out of the way. Because it was a highly talked about, I wouldn't say dream match. Well, maybe you could say it was a dream match, even though it happened in the WWF a couple of times towards the end of Flair's tenure in '92. Bret and Flair was a marquee matchup that WCW was looking to put on and promote. And I feel like Bret still had some unfinished business with the NWO. Like, they could have ran Bret against the NWO leading up to Hogan, maybe at the next Starrcade. And Bret would have had plenty of guys to go through. And Bret could have been the guy that really helped single-handedly destroy the NWO from within. If you look at it from a storyline perspective.
Absolutely.
Bret's creative, I think, was mismanaged to the point where they even put him in the NWO a couple of times. He was with them, he wasn't with them.
Who wasn't in the NWO at one point?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was everybody, right?
I mean, there were a lot of people in the NWO. Then there was an LWO, and then there was an NWO Wolfpack, and
completely watered down.
You know what? Yes, I could see. All right, so here's the argument. Okay, I can see where you're coming from. NWO watered down. Okay. We're really going off the rails here as we're watching this match. NWO watered down. But you had, on the WWF side, you had the popular group in DX. They were what all the young kids wanted to be, you know, telling their parents to suck it and everything else. And then you had the NWO Wolfpack, which was like the cool group, like Kevin Nash and Macho Man and Conan. And, you know, they were like the counter to WWF and DX. And the NWO name was still popular. It was still selling merchandise. So I could understand from that regard that they were looking to capitalize on the brand itself. But at the same time, you split them up into two groups. I can see why people would think it was watered down. At one point, like I said, Bret was in the NWO, and then he was the leader of one of the NWOs. It was a, you know, his run was a catastrophe in WCW. And he's even said, I should have never left. I should have worked it out with Vince. I wanted to end my career in the WWF. That's the way it should have been. Now, what do you think about Bret's? You know, Bret's got a lot of bitterness. And some of it's right, you know, some of it's rightfully so. He deserves to feel that way. But, anytime you hear a Bret Hart interview, there's like a Rolodex of guys that he's got an issue with.
Sure.
Hogan, Bischoff, Goldberg, Shawn Michaels.
He needs to find healing.
Yes.
And he really needs to chill out and really be appreciative and understand, his statement or what he gave to the business, who he is. I think he's taking from whatever legacy he.
The alligator claw to the throat. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
Get that in there.
No worries. Alligator claw to the throat is never a good thing.
Nope.
Mr. Skinner.
That's right.
How did Skinner, on a side note, how did Skinner wrestle with, what is that, tobacco in his mouth?
I don't know. I mean, God, I hope
How did he not choke on it? Look at his pants stains.
I hope not.
He's got tobacco all over his pants right now. How did he not choke? Okay, props to Skinner.
I don't know how. I mean, how could you?
And now there's not one tobacco mark on Bret Hart, so he didn't even get it on his opponent. Look at that. Not one drip on his opponent.
Probably all
I'm
in his
impressed.
beard, though. That's a pretty big beard.
I'm impressed by that. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Completely random comment. But I just think Bret should find healing because he made such a staple, I think, in the business. He was a staple to the WWF. And just really find that healing and realize the contributions you made. If you're bitter at everybody else, maybe it's time Bret Hart looks at Bret Hart.
Yeah. I think he needs to take some responsibility for his contributions that led to some of the negative the negative things that had happened to him. I mean, he was no victim in the whole thing with Shawn Michaels that led to Montreal. Him and Shawn had bad blood.
In Hartford.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, in Hartford. That locker room
straight up fist fight.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Hartford Civic Center.
Yeah, they
represented
represented Hartford well known. I mean, Hartford's known for its fair share of melees, even currently to this day.
Nice.
Hartford police definitely earning their paycheck with all the murders that have taken place, but nothing quite like the locker room fight between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels in June of '97. But yeah, I do think that there needs to be some accountability on his part. I do agree. The one thing, and I've said this before, and I don't know if I've ever told you this story, that really bothered me about him was after Roddy Piper died, he did an interview with someone, I don't remember who it was, and they were talking about Piper, and they asked him a question, and his answer was totally irrelevant to the question that they were asking. I forget exactly what the question was, but Bret responded with, I bet you Hogan's happy that Piper's dead so it can take all the heat off of him for being a racist. And it wasn't like 3 weeks before that Hogan, it was revealed that Hogan, dropped the hard R in that audio, that sex tape. What do you think about that comment there? Not Hogan, obviously. We know that that's wrong, but Bret kind of shoehorning Hogan into something that he was not even, like to say that someone wishes that another person was dead or implied that someone else wishes that another person was dead. I mean, that to me is like the epitome of Bret's bitterness right there.
Absolutely. Once again, Bret, I hope you find the healing that you need. It's take some accountability, but as well as that, you really don't have the right to speak for someone else. And also what's sad to me is Roddy Piper was at his father's wrestling, right? Stampede was in Canada.
Piper had done some more. Yeah, Piper had been everywhere, but Piper had a run in Stampede for a little bit. I don't think he was a well-known name, but I think Piper ran through there at one point.
So, I mean,
there's history there.
Yeah, so you have a history there, you have a connection, you have a closeness there between Bret and Roddy Piper, which is why the interview was there.
Yeah.
And I think the fans wanted your input of what happened with Piper, maybe some good stories on Roddy Piper, not to take it on a negative.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think.
Speaking of Stampede, I finally watched some of that Tales of the Territories of the Calgary Stampede episode.
Oh,
I didn't watch all of it, but I watched some of it. It was pretty funny. Some of the stories that they talked about.
What they did to what was the big guy's name?
Andre?
No.
I got to the part where I think I stopped watching after. I got to the part where I think Abdullah Brett was telling the story about how he was smartened up to the business after he kicked Abdullah in the stomach or in the back when he was wrestling his father.
I don't want to spoil it, but they had a rib. I don't know if you got to the rib yet, where they would rib the wrestlers. I forgot what it was called, but they would have one of the guys' wives pretend to be all over.
No, I didn't get to that
Did you
part
get
yet.
that?
No,
then I'm not going to ruin it.
All right, yeah.
I laughed out loud.
I'll have
Definitely
to watch it,
check out.
The Abdullah the Butcher
Check
stuff
out
was
the
pretty
Jared
neat.
Price.
Like where he ran through Calgary and talked about how like he would, when he would order dinner at a restaurant or whatever, he would like speak in like this gibberish.
Yeah.
And the waitress finally was like, "I know you can talk. Don't worry, I won't tell anybody." Like that was pretty good. And then the story about Stu. Kid broke into the house or broke into one of his cars, tried to steal his car, and Stu stretched him in the kitchen and then called the kid's parents and then gave him a job. Like
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
Of Stu.
Yeah.
That was for sure cool of Stu. Stu sounds like he was the kind of guy you didn't want to mess with.
Stu's on that short, count on one hand list of guys that nobody fucked with in the business. Between him, Haku, Harley Race, like those three right there off the top of my head are probably like three guys that like universally nobody messed with. They were universally respected for their toughness and what they contributed to the business. As we see Brett delivering the sharpshooter to Skinner
Sharpshooter time.
to
That's
put
it
this
for
match
Skinner.
away and the finish. And your winner and still World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Champion, Bret the Hitman Hart.
So
That was my Howard Finkel.
that was a good one.
That was all right.
Side note.
Okay.
You mentioned all the tough guys. Stu Hart versus Haku. Who would win? Dream match.
Ooh. Well, I mean, it would be a dream for people to watch these two kill each other. My goodness.
Let's have your listeners chime in on this one.
We could. Three guys in a bar fight: Stu, Harley Race, and Haku. Who's walking out? Each one presents like this different like brand of toughness to them. As we see Jake the Snake Roberts here getting ready for his match with Randy Macho Man Savage.
Jake looks pretty cut up here.
He does. He looks pretty good. Let's play the audio for this.
Let's definitely do that.
Earlier, I
interview in the
saw
business.
the Macho Man and his lovely bride Elizabeth. Randy Savage is wired to the max. He cannot wait to get you into the ring.
So what? As cold as a razor blade, as tight as a tourniquet, like the skin on a dying man. Randy Savage, the last time I seen you, you were flailing like some helpless child, drowning. Drowning from what? Drowning from the very poison that was running through your veins after that snake had chewed on that arm. For some time he did chew. Now you look at my eyes, Randy Savage, and you see two black holes in the sky. But you look at that snake eyes and you'll see something so cold and so devilish and so deliberate. Yes, he takes care of what he has to, does what he has to, just like me. Your eyes weren't even there, man. You were out, you were gone. But you know whose eyes I enjoyed the most? Do you? Elizabeth's. Pupils so small, so intent, so scared for the man that she loved. And what a rush I got, man. Up and down my back, it felt so good. My hair felt like it was tingling. I mean, I had goosebumps all over my body listening to you squeal for a man that could not do anything but flail around and couldn't help himself at all, you know. And see, the thing about Jack Tunney barring the snake from the corner, let me tell you something, Jack Tunney. When I was brought into this world, I could not rob, I could not steal, I could not lie, I couldn't even cheat. But boy, did I have some help learning. You have taught me so well. So you see, it is not my fault, anything that I do out there. You have given me the right to. You have almost pushed the button to make me do it. You have pulled the trigger. So anything that I do is your fault. Snake in the corner? Trust me. Trust me.
Let's go to Gene Okerlund.
My
You know, I can't
opinion,
believe
one of
it.
the best ever, and sold that business so well.
Yep.
Sold an angle. I don't think anybody sold an angle like Jake.
I mean, he was damn good. That's for sure. I like the foreshadowing, how he was like, it's your fault what's going to happen out there. you're the one that's going to make me do it. This was stemming from the incident at SummerSlam following Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth's nuptials, as Jake and Undertaker invaded the wedding, and the Cobra came out of the box, and they reinstated Savage, and then Savage was attacked, and the Cobra bit him, and all hell broke loose. This was a really fun angle, and one that I felt didn't get the proper payoff.
Okay.
I mean, I, as a kid, expected Randy Savage, Jake the Snake, WrestleMania 8, like in a cage or something. Something huge. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against Savage and Flair for the title. Even though Hogan and Flair, I felt, would have been the bigger matchup at that WrestleMania. I thought WrestleMania 8 was going to be one of the greatest of all time, with Hogan and Savage, Flair and Jake maybe in a cage, Undertaker and Sid. You had Brett and Piper. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty was another match that was rumored to take place on that card. So there were so many big matchups that, and low-key, people look at WrestleMania 8 as an underwhelming WrestleMania. As a kid, you and I watched it. I loved it.
Sure.
I thought it was cool. Sure. But I thought Savage and Jake deserved a better payoff than a Saturday night's main event that took place following this.
Absolutely. I mean, the King of Intent, I don't think anybody was more intense than Savage.
No.
The King of Intensity.
Yeah.
Right?
At that time, oh yeah.
These two, they're dancing. Look at this.
Already,
Starting
no
the
music,
match
Savage
off,
just, coming out of the bullpen hot.
Grabbing Jake from behind. I mean, these guys are selling that storyline big time. How amazing, right? And then imagine the snake bite on the arm. I heard the snake died after it bit Randy.
They devenomized the snake.
Randy killed the snake.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
They devenomized the snake, I heard. The story I heard was that they approached Savage about, would you do this? We'll devenomize the snake. And he said, I'll do it, but Jake's got to do it first. And they made Jake take the snake bite, and it hurt like a motherfucker because he got this animal with its fucking fangs, this reptile, clawing into you. And then Savage did it, and you can see there's the bandage on the left arm selling the snake attack from a few weeks prior, which was one of the fucking most realist things I had ever seen on wrestling. Like, I was
freaked out.
Yeah.
When you're a kid and you're seeing that, you are freaked out. And Savage sold it again. Remember, he got up and he was falling
He's
down,
trying to fight. Yeah.
Trying to get up to Jake.
And Vince is on commentary. He's like, that snake better be devenomized.
Yeah.
That better be devenomized. Like, Piper ran down. Elizabeth ran down. They had officials down there.
That's a great angle.
You could tell, though, if you go back and you watch it, that snake was on its, it reached it was on its last legs, because Jake was trying to wiggle the snake around. This thing looked like it was dead. It looked like he was taking a rubber garden hose and was just shaking it around, trying to shake the water out of it.
Would you have let that snake bite you?
If I saw that motherfucker was devenomized, yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah.
I would have done it. It would have sucked, but I would have done it. Not 8-year-old me. 8-year-old me would have said no.
Right.
39-year-old Dave Rosenbluth would have said, hell yeah, I'll do it.
There you go.
If it's going to make money, yeah. If I'm getting a little bonus,
there you go.
Which I wonder if that was even the case.
I don't know if that was the case, but these two are some of the absolute best at what they're doing. I got to agree with you, Dave. I think they did not get the closing to this storyline. Look at these two go at it. The intensity, selling the same storyline, right?
With the arm, yeah.
Good God.
He's selling the arm from where the snake bite was.
I really got to agree with you there. I don't think this got the big finish.
Now, do you remember what happened at the end of this match?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't.
When you go, all right, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but when you see and I'll put the audio up for what takes place at the end of this match, the post-match angle. When you watch that, then you will undoubtedly 100% agree with me. Not that you don't already, but you will 100% undoubtedly agree that there was no proper payoff for this match after you see the post-match angle. This should have gone on for months and months and months and months.
Now, this was a pay-per-view?
Yes, this was a pay-per-view.
Okay, so were they trying to use the Macho and Jake as the payoff for this pay-per-view. That could have been it too.
No, I don't think so. Only because they did have a rematch on Saturday night's main event in February of 1992.
Jake and Macho.
Jake and Macho, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And that was the blow off for their angle, which set up Jake and Undertaker.
Wow. Okay.
If you remember, Jake was waiting behind the curtain with the chair.
Yeah.
Savage and Elizabeth were going to come through. Jake's telling the cameraman, "Watch this. I'm gonna knock his block off, etc." Elizabeth's right there. You hear Vince on commentary, like, "Someone tell them, stop them." And then all of a sudden, you see Undertaker grab the chair from Jake, and then Savage and Elizabeth split, and that's what set up Undertaker turning babyface and him and Jake at WrestleMania that year. Okay. See, look, he's ripping the bandage off. There's still dry blood, what it looks like dry blood, on his arm there from the wound, from the snake bite. Yeah, that's something else. And I got a great story for you about how Savage handled the post-match angle in real time, in kayfabe, in real life. Because you just got to watch it. You have to watch it with me. But yeah, this was a hot angle at the time. I was torn because I loved Jake as a babyface, but Randy Savage was my guy.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So, but what took place post-match from this angle, I was obviously 100% all in on Randy Savage at that point. Not that I wasn't before, but I really was after what took place this post-match angle with him and Jake.
This is right before Jake left for WCW.
Yes. Yeah, he left after WrestleMania 8.
Why did he leave? Why did he really leave? Just it was a money thing?
The story I heard, Jake's departure stemmed from the fact that he was looking to take some time away from the ring, not wrestle as much, and according to Jake, he was promised by Vince an opportunity to be the head booker, the head story writer, because Pat Patterson was retiring, or he was leaving the company. I think Pat was retiring, and Jake thought he was going to. Jake thought his time was due in that position, and Vince told him no, they were going in a different direction. And that Pat was going to stay. And Jake then held Vince up at the last minute at WrestleMania and said, "I won't go out and wrestle Undertaker if you don't let me out of my contract." As we see the elbow drop here for the finish. Randy Savage with the victory. Vindication for the Macho Man, huh? Now.
Two of the best ever.
This is where it gets really good.
All right, so we got a clean finish. What happens now?
So, there will be some post-match shenanigans involving Jake and Savage. Some physicality involved. So, what I'm going to ask for you to do, Dean, is I'm going to play the audio. Just sit back and watch.
All right.
Don't say anything until we're done playing the audio.
All right.
All right? So, this is going to go on for a few minutes. So I'm asking you to just observe, because you might remember as we're watching this what's going to take place. But I just want you to observe, and then give me your thoughts.
Will do.
All right. So I'm going to play the audio right now. So those of you that are listening, we are currently at 30 minutes 46 seconds and counting, and I'm going to press the mute button right now.
Better shape right now than the Macho Man. Well, DDT
Let me just stop here for a minute. I just muted it for those of you that are watching. The stipulation in the match was that Jake wasn't allowed to have any reptiles at ringside. Okay? Now back to the audio. When that move meant something. Back then.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was over.
2 DDTs.
Referee telling Jake it out. It's all over. But I don't think so. That's a cruel man. That's the devil himself. He's going to hurt him. This is when he's most dangerous. When you're wounded. When you're hurt. And he knows it. Well, maybe he is leaving. Savage is very lucky. Jake the Snake Roberts is returning. Referee warning him on no uncertain terms, so get out of here. But he proved his point. He proved his point. He's still standing. Savage is out cold. Devil indeed had gotten his dues. He did his job. Still fingering that ribcage. Wait a minute. What's going through that evil mind? I see one thing. He's just playing an idea. He's not done. He's not done yet. Stay tuned. We're going to have some fun here. Don't leave yourself. Still face down.
It never was there, Tony. I gave you my word. It's not right there.
What's he saying? He's saying he gave his word to Jack Tunney. And there was no snake in the corner. Well, what's this? Uh-oh. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Just wait. It gets better.
He's got it. He's got it. Let's go. That contains the Cobra. Oh, son. He may be reinstated, but he'll probably be terminated. And here we go. Referee going berserk here. And look at this. Jake the Snake talking now. Oh, it's Elizabeth. Out of nowhere. You better get him out of there. Elizabeth covering her man. She's bleeding. Elizabeth pleading with Jake the Snake.
Props to Elizabeth.
What's that?
Props to Elizabeth. Selling it.
Yep.
Standing between Jake and her man. Elizabeth putting her own life on the line. She's not thinking what to say here. There's something wrong with her.
Good, right?
Very good.
Wait, gets better. All right.
Wow.
Now you tell me that
The
that shouldn't have
ultimate
that should have gone on longer. That their rivalry,
Absolutely.
right?
The slap to Elizabeth.
Oh, you know things are real business when Jack Tunney's out. You don't see that motherfucker for months, except for in his ivory tower, and then all of a sudden he shows up. Now let me ask you this: here's I'm going to throw some logic in here, okay? As we're watching this, because sometimes wrestling needs a little logic, right? He bites him with the snake a couple of weeks prior.
Sure.
The minute Jake grabbed that bag, that crowd, you could hear them go, like, they gasp. Like, no, please, no, not again, right?
Sure.
Where the fuck was everybody? Where was it? There was one referee in there trying to police that whole thing. Where were they? Where were the rest of these referees? Where was Pat Patterson? Where was Jack Tunney? Nowhere to be found. All of a sudden they show up when he slaps the shit out of Elizabeth. Right?
Sure.
Now, your honest opinion, which I know you're going to give me a fair assessment. What did you think of this, of what we just saw here?
So this was it for the angle?
No, this wasn't it for the angle. They had a rematch on Saturday night's main event in February of '92. It was a TV match. It was blown off on TV.
I gotta give it to you, man. That was WrestleMania worthy.
Exactly,
Big
right?
Time.
Exactly.
I gotta go with you on the cage, something.
I thought it was going to be blown off, like in a cage or whatever. You know what I mean? No disqualification, something.
Especially the slap to Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I mean,
the slap was like, oh, he's going to kill him. Like, he's going to legitimately kill him on television.
sure.
You know?
Sure. I mean, what? First of all, the three of them did a really great job.
Yeah.
Selling this.
Yep.
Jake, Macho, and Elizabeth. I got to give praise to Elizabeth, too. Her begging Jake.
You never saw her that animated. Like,
No,
you saw her
didn't.
cry. Like, look at him. He's like, look, he's even crying there, too. Like, I'm sorry. Look at that.
It's still going, man. Look at this. Yeah, this is totally WrestleMania. This really should have been a WrestleMania. I really got to agree with you.
Now, here's the other thing about this, right? In real life, let's play the promo with Jake and Mean Gene.
Bonafide sicko, Jake Roberts. Hitting a woman, how could you?
A woman? No man wants a woman that's gonna lay down and grovel and beg for somebody's life. If it's a woman that I want her to stand up. Stand up and be that. Be what I want. As far as slapping her, yeah, I slapped her, but I'll slap myself. I'll slap you, Gene Okerlund. But I'll tell you something, Randy Savage. DDTing you was fine. That really felt good. But the best feeling I've ever had in my life is when I grabbed a hold of your woman's hair, man, and jerked her up off of her knees. That was good. And then when I put my hand across her face, my man, it felt so good I should have to pay for that. Yeah, I would pay to do that. So the next time you think about crossing this snake's path and a snake chooses its own path where nobody else wants to go, you think about it again. But if you do decide to, please do me one little favor. I'm begging you. Please bring her back. Let me touch her again.
Oh, get out of it, please,
I
Robert.
can cultivate her into something that even I could
Oh,
want.
please.
I could do that. Trust me. Trust me.
Please. I refuse to. Gorilla Monsoon,
Wow.
get back. Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. I don't want.
Jesus.
Wow.
Right?
Why didn't Jake stay for his. They set him up. He set himself up as such a great heel. Why would he leave?
Yeah.
Why would he leave, even if he was promised that?
He was promised a big amount of money in with Turner.
Maybe
because his father at the time was running things in WCW. His father was a high-ranking executive for WCW, so he helped him get a sweetheart deal.
But why would you leave?
More money to work less dates.
Wow.
I mean, that to me, like I said, WrestleMania worthy. Like,
sure.
Let's put it this way: if him and Savage blew it off at WrestleMania in like a cage, and that was Jake's last match, that would have been like
awesome.
great work out the
Sure.
door. You know,
Sure.
like to me, that was just the things he was saying in there, and just now. Do you think in 1991, at that time, that was crossing the line for kids?
I think that was
for kids, not young adults, not teenagers, not for kids. You were 9 years old. I was 8 when we were watching this.
I'm catching things now.
Okay.
That I did not catch as a kid.
Okay.
Okay. Just from the Snake interview.
Okay.
I'm like blown away.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny what you were able to catch when you're watching these things as you're older, and the things that they say. Like the innuendos, the little double entendres and things like that. You go back and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like,
absolutely.
Now I get that. Now I understand.
Absolutely.
At 9 years old, I didn't understand the fucking thing.
I wouldn't have understood anything of what Jake just said at 9, right? 8 or 9. But, I mean, what would a heel run have looked like early 90s of Jake Roberts if he didn't go to WCW? That would have been...
In WWF?
In WWF, during that heel run, with that setup, that would have been... Good God.
There's a lot of stars that have to align, I feel like, in order for that to be successful. Like, before it was made public that Hogan was leaving after that WrestleMania, again, when he wrestled Sid.
Sure.
In my head, I pictured Hogan and Jake because we never saw it at that time. It was toyed around and it was experimented with in the 80s on, like, the house shows. And I think they did an angle on TV where Jake DDT'd Hogan on the snake pit, but the crowd popped for it. And Vince said, nope, we're not doing it. But that Jake Hogan in 92, that'd have been interesting.
That'd have been huge.
That'd have been big. Now the question is, would they have loved Jake? Because Hogan in 92, you were starting to hear some boos a little bit here and there, depending on what towns they were in. When Hogan wrestled like guys like Sid,
I think
would some of those same crowds be receptive to Jake and then turn on Hogan, or was this work that Jake just did with Savage? Would that have put him over the top as a top heel?
I think he would have been a top heel, and I think we would have seen the Attitude Era in 92, and you would have seen Jake as the head heel getting a ton of a pop for the bad guy. I think Jake would have set it off. I think Jake would have been that guy to set it off. We would have seen the Attitude Era years earlier.
Interesting.
As he handed the ball to Stone Cold, too.
Interesting.
Right?
But do you think some of the other cartoonish characters during that time frame in 92, late 91, into 92 would have lasted if we saw an Attitude Era-esque programming during that time? Because, I mean, Jake and Undertaker, which were a little bit darker.
Sure.
Savage was timeless. Savage was timeless. Piper was pretty edgy. Brett was on the come up. Sean just turned heel. And he was like the pretty boy, but like the hairband Motley Crue kind of look to him. Yeah, Dean, I'm not going to lie. Looking at some of those guys in that roster at that time, I mean, you eliminated a few, like the Berserker. Yeah. Get rid of Repo Man.
Because that was Barry Dorso, right?
Yep. Oh. Which he's on this show.
Sure.
In a tag match with DiBiase against Virgil and El Matador, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's after this match here. We're watching Davey Boy and Warlord, by the way. Timestamp for you. 47 minutes, 15 seconds and counting as Davey Boy's got Warlord wrapped up in the ropes. Dean, I'm not going to lie, dude. a 1992 Attitude Era, I could kind of see that. Not so full-blown over the top,
Yeah.
but a little more edgier.
For 92,
I mean, think about it. You know what? Now that you mention it, if you go back and you think about it, they were planting seeds and toying around with different edgier content because it was 6 months prior.
Sure.
Sergeant Slaughter was an Iraqi sympathizer in the middle of the Gulf War.
Sure. I mean, you don't get edgier than that.
Yeah.
Going against the country.
Yeah.
Is edgier than.
And Sergeant Slaughter was, fucking G.I. Joe, Mr. USA for such a long time. So, you think about that, yeah. I can get behind it. I like that.
Yeah.
I can get behind it.
I mean, even Jake's promo just now, the things I caught as an adult, that it totally passed me by as a kid.
Yep.
Good God, I could have paid for that. You grabbing your wife up by the hair from the knees,
jerked
like
her up
thing,
from the knee.
You know?
He had a way of delivering
things,
his
the things you
promos.
catch now.
Yeah, you were looking at me when he said that too. You were like, and I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about, dude.
I am like blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody could have done it, it's Jake. I don't think Jake ever, as great as Jake was, I don't think anybody ever let Jake be even more Jake. Because I looking back now at Jake, I think Jake was one of the greatest ever. Good God.
Jake's in that short list of guys that were if you make a Mount Rushmore of the greatest to never be the world champion, he's up there.
Absolutely.
You put him, you put Roddy Piper, you put Scott Hall.
Sure.
And that fourth could be interchangeable.
Sure.
It could be a Kurt Hennig, it could be a Rick Rude, it could be there's a Ted DiBiase. There's a multitude of guys that are on that greatest of all time to never wear the heavyweight title. Like Davey Boy. Here's another one, too. Davey Boy in a singles role, 1991. Him and Warlord here. They had a pretty fun match at WrestleMania earlier this year in 1991.
Can we give props to Gorilla real quick?
Yeah.
The immovable force meeting the immovable object.
The irresistible force.
Excuse me. Okay, but...
Compared that was the line from Hogan and Andre at WrestleMania 3. But I mean, I'm sure he probably dropped the line in this match here.
Just love.
And then Davey snorted the line off of Gorilla's.
Whoa! You've been watching Jake the Snake, my man.
Just a little bit, yeah. Just a little bit.
These two are like two behemoths going at it. The Warlord. What's your take on the Warlord and Davey? Do you think these guys got their due as big men?
All right. So when it comes to Warlord, he was an impressive looking dude. Okay, when you look at him, you're like, how can you not be impressed by his size?
He still looks that today too.
Yeah. There's a great story that Kevin Nash once told that Shawn Michaels was in the locker room with the Warlord, and the Warlord told him to inject him with some of that stuff that's illegal, and Shawn Michaels went to go put the needle in his ass cheek, and it couldn't move, and he was like, dude, I think you're full. But Warlord was so big and impressive that, like, as a kid, I always wondered, like, why he didn't wrestle for the title, because he was such a big monster. Like, why didn't he have, like, maybe a small run against Hogan, or even, like, Ultimate Warrior?
That would, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I could have seen that.
Like, I'm not saying the matches would have been great, but on paper, when you look at them across from each other, you're like, why didn't these two have them? You know, like, Warrior was all about the intensity, and, you know, and the Warlord was all about his power. Like, seeing Warlord put the Ultimate Warrior in a full Nelson, and Warrior kind of losing his shit and he's trying to break out of it, and same thing with, like, a Hogan, too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of... I'm not baffled as to why it didn't happen, but I've always wondered, like, man, when you look at him, especially, you know, I'm picturing this as 8-year-old Dave Rosenbluth. You look at him and you're just like, how is he not the heavyweight champion? Or how is he not wrestling like a Hulk Hogan? Or, you know what I mean? But now you look at him and you're like, all right, I get why, because he wasn't that good. You know? I mean, look who's his manager, Harvey Whippleman. He went from Slick to Harvey Whippleman. I mean, that's, you know, going from the penthouse to the outhouse.
These two are, like, I think, great in their own right, though. You know, today it seems like everybody's a superstar, right? But
yeah.
I think back then we knew who was who on the roster, but now looking back, I think all the old cats were all the superstars, and the new guys on the roster. I can't name 5 wrestlers right now.
Yeah, because you don't watch it as much, so
I don't think I could name 5.
Really, that's how far out you are. Okay, I get it.
The Rock's cousin, I think, is great.
Roman Reigns.
Yep. I think, should get there, right? Did he get it yet?
He's the champ.
Okay, cool.
So he's the top dog right now.
Cool.
He's in the main event spot.
He got his time. That's really good. That's really cool. As he should.
Yeah.
Coming from that kind of legacy too. And I think the guy's great. The looks there, everything's there.
Yeah, he's got a good look and a presence, and I mean it's taken a little to really develop him because they tried so hard to make him a good guy, and the people just rebelled for such a long period of time. But now they found something with him, and I mean, his character progression really developed during COVID when there was no audience, and they're wrestling in front of nobody, and it just took off from there once crowds came back. But Davey Boy, as far as I'm concerned, another guy that unfortunately he had some missteps with some extracurricular activities that prevented his runs.
Sure.
But he's another one that I looked at as a kid and I was like, well, how is he not going to be the world champion?
Sure. This full Nelson is going on a really long time.
Yeah, they're really milking this one. I don't even think it's full anymore.
Yeah.
Like Warlord's got his ears. He doesn't even have the hands locked behind his head.
The ref should have been calling, "Go home, guys, go home."
Yeah.
This is kind of losing.
And Warlord missed spray tan in his legs because actually they didn't have spray tan back then. This was 1991. This was 31 years ago. See, he doesn't even have his hands locked. He's giving Davey Boy earmuffs right now.
This Nelson's been going on way too long. Go home, guys.
Yeah.
Go home.
But Bulldog is another guy that, looking at him at 8 years old, and I was like, yeah, he should be the champ. He's such a big dude and so powerful. And well, he had to run as IC champ with Brett. He beat Brett at SummerSlam in Wembley in '92, which is probably his greatest career accomplishment ever. But
could you see him as heavyweight? Do you think he carried that ball? I don't know.
I think.
In Wimbledon,
yeah, I do. Honestly,
before they went to Wimbledon, I think it would have been a great move.
I think
take Davey as the heavyweight champ. That would have been cool.
I think after Hogan and those guys, when they were phasing like Hogan and Savage out, and they were going with younger, with like Brett and Shawn and Razor, like had Davey stayed around, had he not gotten fired, he probably would have been their big international star.
Sure.
They probably would have given them the belt, like transitional runs. Like, he wouldn't be champion longer than, like, a couple of months.
Of course.
But they would put him with guys that they knew he could have good matches. Not saying he was a bad wrestler, because I think
he was very good.
He was very good. I think Davey Boy is probably one of the best all-around performers. He can wrestle. He can fly at times. He's got the power, like here with this standing vertical suplex to the Warlord.
If he's got the right dance partner. These two aren't quite connecting like I would have hoped.
But it's not terrible either.
No, it's not. It's a great match. They're both doing great. It's no disrespect to either one of them. Certainly, I'm not a wrestler. I couldn't do anything of what these two are doing. So it's all respect and love.
Yeah.
But I think the Warlord was great. I think Davey was great.
We're setting up for the Power Slam here.
I don't think this is what I would have had in my head, right, for this match. Good finish. Come on, finish.
Kick out.
Oh, that would have been great to call it. This match is getting long. I think
it is a little long in the tooth, isn't it?
I think that would have been a great time to call, but they're going to let Davey.
No, I think this is the finish here. I think he's going to set him up. He's going to cradle, 2, 3. There we go. All right, so we were off by a couple of seconds. Davey Boy with the victory.
I'm not sure I understand.
Siri doesn't understand.
Siri doesn't understand wrestling at all. Siri, it's okay. You still on, bitch? No, you're good.
Oh, don't talk to her like that.
Sometimes she's interrupted a few of these podcasts.
You got to tell Siri you love her. Otherwise...
Yeah, but then it's good. But then I'll randomly be with my wife, and then she'll be like, "I love you too," and then my wife will fucking lose my mind, and she'll kill me in front of Siri.
But it's Siri.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like
that's true.
It's only Siri.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'll let you tell my wife that.
Okay, no.
Yeah, that's not the hill you want to die on, pal. Davey Boy, the British Bulldog. With the victory over the Warlord.
Do you think he's all natural? Or do you think he did?
Oh God! I mean, you kidding me? Like he's on the Jenny Craig Nutri-Slim diet here. You know what? Here's Randy Savage promo from the
Shut up!
But Randy Savage, I'm just as upset over what took place out there as you are.
No, he's not, actually.
Elizabeth, the greatest Elizabeth. You understand that? The greatest Elizabeth. Snake degraded her, yeah. And I'll never forgive myself. It's the worst day of my life that I let him do that. You laid your hands on Elizabeth. You laid your hands on Elizabeth. That's my fault. That's my man. You said something about hanging with you, show you the dark side. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something right now. Let me tell you something right now. I'm gonna get you, man. Yeah, I'm gonna get you. And there ain't gonna be no stopping me, man. I'm gonna get you. You can trust me that I said that. You already got what you wanted here. You know, I didn't even get a piece of you. I didn't even get a piece of him. I blame myself. Man, I'm telling you. Touched Elizabeth, man. Touched Elizabeth. Unbelievable, man. That's it. It's over. It's over. No control, brother. Man, I'm telling you right now, man. I'm gonna get you here. I'm begging right now. You made her beg, huh? You ain't seen nothing yet. I'm telling you something right now.
Probably bleeding from the forehead. Check it out.
I'm gonna get you. And I'm telling you something, man. I'm telling you, it ain't over. It ain't even started. You understand that? You understand that? I blame myself. I'm gonna get you. Yeah. Get out of here.
Obviously a very disturbed and vengeful Macho Man Randy Savage. I don't believe there's a place for Jake the Snake Roberts to hide. Let's get back out to you, Gorilla.
I think it's the nostalgia factor, but it was just better than.
Oh, 100%.
Just better.
100%. It made you believe. There was also this one thing called the internet that wasn't around in 1991 either, that you have to take
It
into
was,
account
but it was
too.
just for the army. It wasn't quite out to the public.
Really? In 91?
It was
Didn't
definitely
know
available.
that.
Yeah. It was definitely available. It was still
Okay.
dial-up, but I knew some people who had it.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
actually in the 80s, going back to the 80s. Because
Holy cow.
They were like tech job people. They
Okay.
did have it.
So they saw the future before the future saw the future.
They did see it. They
Okay.
absolutely did. But this is, I just think it was better back then. Maybe it's the nostalgia. I think it's a lot of it is the nostalgia, but I think it was just so much better back then.
Oh, there was definitely. I mean, it made you believe more. There wasn't like 80 hours of wrestling a week on TV. You had maybe like 2 or 3 shows. You didn't see everybody on TV every week. Guys weren't overexposed.
Besides Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose is cool.
And he's on AEW now. He's John Moxley.
Okay.
Yeah.
AEW, I think, could take the throne of WWE if they don't shape their act.
I don't know about that.
No?
I don't know about that. They've catered to a. It's like saying like Universal Studios is going to, or Six Flags is going to oust Walt Disney.
Not gonna happen.
Not going to happen. WWE has cornered their market. They've branded. They're like Coca-Cola. It's a brand,
Sure.
And there's things about AEW I do like. I've said this before on this podcast, and I've gotten into arguments with folks about, what I don't like about it. And it's I think WWE is, like I said, it's the Walt Disney of wrestling.
Sure. I agree with that.
There's theatrics, there's entertainment. It's a variety show in a sense. And AEW is purely wrestling.
Okay. Where does WWE go from here?
I think
so Steph's in control?
Stephanie and Triple H are in control. Vince is gone. Although there have been stories recently that he's looking to make a comeback. But that might scare away a lot of sponsors. And he's also currently got a lawsuit pending with a female that allegedly was sexually assaulted by him back in '85. Where do they go? trying to stay on the curve of what's out there in pop culture while at the same time honoring and respecting the sports entertainment model while keeping within the pro wrestling realm. I think they got to serve many masters, but I think there needs to be more consistency in their storytelling, and I think we've seen that. I also think there needs to be some more character development. Give me a reason to care about this person, not just because they just show up on TV and they wrestle in a match. I want something that's gonna make me care about them. You know, whether they, and this is just for argument's sake, whether they give me a character of like a former Marine or a military veteran or whatever, and he fought in the war and he's got PTSD and he's this, you know, United States hero on this comeback trail. Like, give me something to sink my teeth into as to why I need to care about this person. You know, don't just throw two guys on TV and have them wrestle and let the audience decide, because that doesn't always work. You know, give me a reason to give a shit. What is he? What is he about? What's this character about?
Sure. Give them more backstory on
exactly,
and then throw it to the audience.
Yeah,
and let them do what they want.
I don't think we see enough of that.
Okay, cool.
You know,
cool.
Let these guys also find their range and let them develop as performers and as characters, and don't micromanage everything. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit. I know you don't watch current WWE, but I think we do see a little bit of that with some of these guys. Triple H does let them have a little bit more creative freedom when it comes to what they're going to say in their promos, where it's not scripted or micromanaged like for the last 15 years how it's been, where guys will talk and you could close your eyes and listen to a guy in an interview and not know who he is because they all sound the same.
Sure.
The same delivery, the same cadence, the same tone. You know.
I had seen some of the old timers saying that everything was scripted. It was more writers.
Yep.
Getting away from wrestling.
Yeah.
I have also heard finishes where a lot of the moves don't mean anything anymore.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. And as big a fan as I am of Shawn Michaels and Undertaker from WrestleMania 25, which is still, in my opinion, the greatest wrestling match of all time, the era of false finishes came from that match. Undertaker had kicked out of a couple of super kicks. Shawn Michaels kicked out of a tombstone. Like, then it became like, it became a thing where guys kicking out of each other's finishes made the finish look like crap. Like, and you can even go as far back as, even further than that, when it came to, oh, look at me, I just knocked over all my toys because I hit my hand on the desk. You have, like, the DDT, for instance. I mentioned it earlier.
Sure.
The DDT, you knew it was done.
It meant something.
It meant something. It was a wrap. Now everybody does the DDT. Everybody does a super kick.
And they get up from it.
And they get up from it. Like, I'll tell you this much, though. I know you don't watch a whole lot of wrestling, but if you were to watch a lot of AEW, all the things that we're talking about, it would drive you nuts.
Really?
I think it would. Yeah, you'd see a couple of cool moves and some flips and whatever, but you see them kicking out of 32 super kicks and a bunch of tornado DDTs and, you know, planches and things like that, and you know, but then like a schoolboy roll up with the tights is the finish. You'd be like, huh? Like, it would drive you nuts.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it drives me nuts, because I think AEW serves a purpose for the hardcore, diehard wrestling fans.
Sure.
And there's things about it that I do like, that I watch. There's guys that there are some consistencies within their storytelling. I'll say that but I feel like they're overcrowded. They have way too big of a roster.
Sure.
Way too big.
Even NWO, I guess. NWA. They started to make a comeback.
Yeah,
right?
Billy Corgan
which
purchased
really cool.
the brand. Yeah,
I think that's very cool. I mean, WWE's King of the Hill. They've always been the big dance.
Yep.
Right? The big show, the big dance, which is awesome. You can't be the big dance without other federations that exist. It's nice that other federations are on the block, and also gives the younger guys coming up places to go.
Yeah.
To do their
100%.
Right?
100%.
But I don't know how do you bring it back? Do you bring it back? Is the today's fan used to all of the aerial maneuvers that they're doing? Do you bring it back? Can you bring it back?
Do you bring what back?
When the moves meant something. Right?
You can.
Finishes and
You can, yeah.
How would you transition that?
I mean, you can. You would just have to. It's all based on the performer, and it's all based on how they present themselves in the ring and how they construct their matches, and not feeling like they. It's a different generation too, you know.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's bad, like by any means that these guys. How do I put it? It's not bad that these guys are looking to entertain and excite the crowd. They just do it in a different way than the performers, of
Sure.
this era have.
Sure.
And what gets lost in the shuffle is things not mattering, like moves.
Probably like it to a young kid like we were. Mm-hmm. Current WWE is amazing, and they probably love.
Oh, yeah.
Love the current day as much as we loved. This
100%.
stuff, right? I mean, I think that's totally their target market.
Is the kids.
Is kids, right?
I mean, I've gone to WWE shows in the last few years, and you see the kids, you look around, and, I'm older, so I get a little more nostalgic, and I have a little bit more of a soft spot than I used to, and you see the kids, with their John Cena hats,
Sure.
and, they're dressed up like John Cena, and you're
Absolutely.
like, that was me, Hulk
yeah.
Hogan.
Absolutely.
In 1989.
Absolutely. So they're still king of the block. They have their formula.
Yeah.
That works.
Yep.
Because
they know that you got two kids that are in the family, two boys or a boy and a girl, and excuse me, yawning here. I shouldn't be yawning. Two kids, and you get the parents, and you're gonna get a couple $100. They go into a show. It's like going to a ball game.
Butts in seats, man.
You buy 2 tickets. Let's say you buy 4 tickets. Let's say mom, dad, and the 2 kids. You buy 4 tickets, and that's say $300 there, right?
Sure.
And you're gonna get something to eat. That's probably another fucking $60 there. And then, oh, Dad, I want a shirt. Oh, I want a hat. No, I want a Roman Reigns wristband. No, I want
How much
a Brock
is
Lesnar.
merch there now?
T-shirts go for like a little over $30, sometimes $35.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember talking a guy into selling me a Hulk Hogan bandana for $5.
Yep.
That's how old I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
The
yeah.
Hartford Civic Center. Way back. I think their formula works. I don't think they're catering to our age bracket. I think it's always been towards the kids, as we were that market.
Yep.
Right? And some of us still tune in, some of us don't, some of us. But I think their formula certainly works as King of the Block. They are the Walt Disney, as you said, of wrestling. The WWE. What happens now, we don't know. I think it's good. Maybe not the way that they phased Vince out, but I mean, Vince isn't going to live forever, right? So
I also think too his ideas and his formulas were very outdated. I think I think there's been plenty of missed opportunities for. I'm not saying Vince is solely to blame, but plenty of missed opportunities for the progression of certain guys over the years. Because for whatever reason, Vince didn't see anything of him.
Do you think he gave him a chance too? Did he give him a long enough run? Did he? I mean, he's Vince is basically pro wrestling.
He's stuck in his ways.
But
I just think when Vince doubles down on something, like there's no turning back. Like he's not gonna fucking wave the flag and be like, "All right, guys, you know what? I was wrong about that one." Like, he's going to push hard. Like, for instance, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was, he wanted Roman Reigns to be a babyface, and for the short term, it started to work. But once you started seeing Roman Reigns getting crammed down the, fans' throats every week, the hero, and you didn't really get to know him on a personal level from a character standpoint, people just started calling bullshit. And then, of course, you got fans that are very vocal. And the advent of social media and
you need some coffee, Mike.
the hate. Yeah, I know, right? I just had 2 cups this morning before you got here. Maybe that's the problem. I'm having coffee. Then just the reactions to him just exploded. And they would try so hard. They would, they would try to divide the audience. Oh, Sherry with the shot for the high heel. Another man-on-woman violent act of... Oh, but there's the Repo Man with a knee to the kidney.
I think there it is. I think we need the managers back. What happened to the managers? We need managers.
Oh, we got a winner here. DiBiase and Repo Man pull out the victory over El Matador, Tito Santana, and Virgil. We were talking over that whole match. It was all right. We got the main event coming up. Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, WWF title.
It's an odd pairing, though. Repo Man and Ted.
Well, if you remember, Virgil beat DiBiase for the $1 million belt.
Yeah.
Then they had a rematch. And Repo Man stole the $1 million title from Virgil to get it back to DiBiase.
All right, there we go.
So that was why they teamed together. How Burrito Boy got involved, El Matador, I don't know.
How you remember this, I don't know.
I know, right? Speaking of remembering, let's hear from Hulk Hogan and Mean Gene.
A rematch this Tuesday in Texas. We are in Texas. This is Tuesday. Hulk Hogan, I want your thoughts because moments from now, you're going to be meeting The Undertaker for the World Wrestling Federation title. Well, you know something, Mean Gene? As far as me and all my little holsters go, brah, this is going to be the greatest, the happiest day in the history of this beautiful thing we call Hulkamania, brother. Oh, yeah, Survivor Series. Me and all my little teeny holsters felt The Undertaker slowly stalk Hulkamania. We felt him slowly squeeze the life and breath out of Hulk Hogan, brother. But after Ric Flair interfered, man, after they dropped me in the tombstone right on the steel chair, in the 1, 2, 3 was like the shot that was heard around the world. The real survivors were all those little teeny Hulkamaniacs out there, brother, that as they saw Hulk Hogan wrenching in pain on that canvas in the center of the ring, the real survivors were the little teeny Hulksters that still had their heads high, brother, that still had smiles on their faces, and still believed in the 4 commandments of the training, the prayers, the vitamins, and believing in ourselves. And because we believe in ourselves, Jack Tunney took recognition immediately and rebooked this match Tuesday in Texas, brothers, with Jack Tunney watching our back, Hulkamaniacs. Ric Flair, stay out of my face. It's between me and The Undertaker. And as far as all my little holsters go, I'm Hulk Hogan, brother, the designated hitman for all my Hulkamaniacs. All these years I've been leading the pack, and I promise to all those little holsters that stood by me in the Survivor Series that this Tuesday in Texas, when the largest arms in the world, brother, come crashing down on The Undertaker, the WWF title will be back right where it should be, right around the waist of Hulk Hogan. And Undertaker, what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan buries you right here in Texas? Yeah. All right, let's get back to the ring.
Yeah.
As a kid, you swore he was talking to you.
Yep.
Because you were one of the Hulkamaniacs.
Because you look,
Pretty brilliant.
You looked right into that TV screen. He came through at you through that screen.
Pretty brilliant.
I got a question for you. So, as a big Hulkamaniac, because I know you were, did you have a hard time as a Hulkamaniac adjusting to life without Hulk Hogan in wrestling during this era? Because this is where, like, Undertaker had gotten a big... Like, you never saw Hogan lose, and then Undertaker beats him at Survivor Series, and you're like, oh my God. And then you could start to see that they were... Not back then, but now. Was there ever a period of time as a fan when you were watching, especially as a Hulkamaniac, where you were like, is this really the end of Hulk Hogan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, well, we had rewind 2 years prior, right? We got accustomed to seeing Hulk get beat with the Warrior. Right?
Okay. Yep.
92.
Yep.
Okay? Did I think Hulk was going to leave the business as a kid? No.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now seeing Hulk get beat, okay, he got beat. I didn't realize it was a clean finish. As a kid, you don't realize clean finish, bad finish. You're just like, hey, that was cheating.
He lost. Yeah.
He lost. Oh, my God. Right?
Yeah, we weren't, 9 years old, like, oh, damn, he jobbed him out.
Yeah, we didn't know the terminology.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think made it more...
exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
100%.
It was like flipping back the curtain of Oz. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I missed him. I thought some of the guys coming up. I thought Undertaker was huge, man, because I remembered seeing him briefly in WCW.
Yes, Mean Mark Callis.
When I saw him in WWF as a kid, or WWE as a kid,
You can call it WWF. I don't care.
He was awesome.
They're not going to sue us.
Walking on the rope.
Yes.
Had you ever seen that?
No, never.
So, seeing this guy beat Hulk was like, whoa, okay. But seeing Hulk leave, it was a hard transition as a kid.
Yeah.
How about for you?
It was. 100%. Hogan losing at Survivor Series, and then, spoiler alert, he's oh, look at this. It's a double team.
I don't remember seeing Paul Bearer in a match before. Here we go.
Boom.
Ramming the heads together.
It didn't really
Classic
phase
Hulk.
Undertaker. Undertaker was kind of like, he kind of had he was immune to
he was
the headshots.
Right?
Yeah.
He was still in his immune to everything.
Yeah.
This kind of worked, man. This really put the Undertaker. I think it was cool of Hulk to put the Undertaker over.
Well,
you
it's
met
funny.
the Undertaker, right?
I did.
What was his take on this?
I didn't ask him. I just took a picture with him and said thanks and.
Gotcha.
But
what's your take on it?
Well, there's a story I wanted to mention to you. Speaking of takes, hot take Jack Tunney over here sitting ringside. He's going to be involved heavily in the finish of this match. But there's a story that I had heard recently. There had been for years speculation that Undertaker and Hogan had some beef following these couple of matches here. And I guess according to Undertaker, after the finish at Survivor Series, Hogan went to him and was like, hey, dude, next time when you deliver that tombstone, you got to take it easy. You really jack my neck up. You were a little too close to the mat or hit the mat or whatever. Something to that effect. I don't have word for word.
We just saw it. Did you see his head hit the mat?
Well, that's my point. So Undertaker was baffled by it, and I guess him and Hogan went back and looked at the video, and Hulk and Undertaker was like, your head didn't even touch the mat. What are you talking about? And then Hulk kind of backtracked, according to Undertaker, and was like, oh, well, my shoulders hit your knees, which jacked up my neck, and blah, blah, blah. And then Undertaker right there just kind of, at that point, in his mind, he realized, okay, I can't trust Hogan. And then I've heard stories over the years, and I've never been able to confirm it because I'm not a legitimate reporter. I'm just a wrestling fan that's doing a podcast here, recounting stories that I've heard. But I guess Undertaker felt that the finish to this match here that we're watching from this Tuesday in Texas was a political move on Hogan's part and derailed his run as the champion, which Undertaker legitimately had a cup of coffee with the title here. And he wouldn't see the WWF Championship until 1997. That's how far back.
Well,
that's how far he had to wait to be the champion again. But
if Hogan knew he was leaving, he should have done the honors for the Undertaker, right?
Well, yeah, but who knows if he knew he was leaving at this point? I don't think he did.
I think he knew he was. Looking back now, and really, I'm just hearing in different interviews that Hulkamania was losing steam at that time.
Yep.
Right? I didn't see it as a kid. I
Same.
didn't feel it as a kid. I
Same.
was like, hey, it's Hulk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
I didn't see it as
Same.
a kid. But if he knew he was leaving, putting the Undertaker over would have been cool. Again, Vince had the last say. Right?
Yep.
Nothing's going to get by without Vince.
Correct.
But, again, why not do a run with Hulk and the Undertaker, a long run? If he did jack his neck up or whatever he's saying in different interviews or whatever it is, it's basically as simple as this. You got The older guy who's trying to hang on to his spot, the young guy who wants his spot, right?
Yeah.
But if they could have done business, that could have been great. Imagine a Hulk. If you weren't going to do Flair Hulk, which I still to this day don't understand why they didn't do that, at WrestleMania 8, a Hulk Hogan Undertaker at WrestleMania could have been amazing.
Yeah.
And if Hulk was leaving to do the honors for the Undertaker, that would have been...
That would have been very interesting.
Really.
I also think, too, that kind of going back to your Attitude Era remark that you made in the Jake match, I think the audience was starting to get behind Undertaker a little bit.
Big time.
You know?
Everybody liked Undertaker.
I think that's why you saw him turn on Jake and help Savage, which derails, in my mind, the WrestleMania blow-off that Savage and Jake should have had from the get-go.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I don't... I'm on the fence about Hogan and Undertaker in an extended run during this era, because I think like you just mentioned, in hindsight, Hogan was losing steam. He wasn't as popular, and if they fed him to Undertaker anymore, whatever golden eggs the goose had left to lay, they would have blown that opportunity. Whereas them giving us a little bit of Hogan and Undertaker, they kind of get an idea of where Undertaker stands in fans' minds. They kind of get an idea of where Hogan stands in fans' minds. Thus, I think this was the beginning of, all right, let's give him a break.
Sure.
And let's revisit this. And Hogan... There's a lot of different theories behind why Hogan and Flair didn't happen. Politics, the steroid trial, Hogan leaving. What's the point of Hogan and Flair for the title if you're going to have Hogan win it only to drop it later? Like, you know,
well, what are we watching?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh, I know, but I mean, I don't think they would have done it again.
The two biggest stars of wrestling at that time, in their primes.
Hogan and Flair, yeah.
Hogan and Flair. Why don't you do... Macho was great. Don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
The Angle was great, too.
With the magazines, yep.
It is in everybody's heads. I've heard even former pro wrestlers wondering why. I've heard people asking the question. I've heard... I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he does a podcast. He was Brother Love. What's his name?
Bruce Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard. Sorry about that. And even Bruce has commented on it, but I still think the fans would have loved to see that.
Oh, I do too.
Okay?
Their excuse was that they tested it out on the live event market and it didn't draw as well as they anticipated, which I call bullshit on that one.
Well, I mean...
I call bullshit on that
I would have
one.
bought a ticket for that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay?
I call bullshit on that one.
If that came to the Hartford Civic Center, how many lawns would you have mowed for that ticket?
Oh, I was 8. I didn't do any. I would have just begged my parents. I wasn't into the manual labor thing at 8 years old.
I would have raked leaves. I would have mowed lawns, and I would have gotten that ticket.
Yeah.
Right? I would have been one of the butts in those seats.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I agree.
So even... I don't know. I really don't know why it didn't happen. I think that would have been amazing. I think for the WCW to capitalize on that, I think that was very smart.
Oh, yeah. That was...
I think they got... What
Hogan's first match there, and he's facing off with Flair, their biggest draw. Yeah, that was easily.
That was the first thing they did great, I think.
Yeah,
WCW.
Yep.
How do you not do that? I think everyone was on board for that.
Oh yeah, I think they had to.
And there wasn't too many. There really weren't too many times that WCW did something that the WWF at that time didn't do.
I mean, Hogan and Flair, like I said, they wrestled on the live events. They were, they ran the Garden in New York and the major markets, but they didn't have anything on TV in a singles match. It was announced that they were going to have a match at WrestleMania for the title, but then they interjected the whole Sid thing. And like I said, there's different theories. Hogan was going to leave because of the steroid trial. But Hogan and Flair couldn't come up with an idea for a finish, so they decided not to do the match. But then if Hogan did win the title, he was going to leave after that. So what was the point of him winning the title only to have to vacate it kind of thing. So there was all these different theories, even the live event theory. Oh, they didn't draw well in the live events. Oh.
Question for even some of the older timers like we are right now, older timer fans, okay? If you played with the action figures as a kid, okay? Totally had that match. The WCW Ric Flair versus...
Just over there in that case, and then the Hogan one's over
Hulk.
there.
I totally did that match. I did that match with you as kids.
I'm sure we
played
did.
with the action
Sure we
figures.
did.
Who else had that match? Just by the LJN action figures. You really should have run the WrestleMania 8. I also watched, as an adult looking back now, I did watch one of those matches between Hulk and Rick in the 90s, okay?
Yep.
The stadium looked full. It looked like a good draw, unless they were selling the demand, but it did look like a good draw. The crowd looked good too.
I watched them. I watched the match that they had. It was on the network here on the PeaCOCK. They have a section called Old School. So they show a lot of the live events from like Boston Garden and Madison Square Garden and LA Forum and things like that. And one of them was in October of '91. Hogan and Flair main evented Madison Square Garden. It was a live event. That was when they used to run the Garden once a month, and they would bring a TV crew there, and they would just film. It never like aired on TV. It might have been like a primetime wrestling match or whatever, but they never put it on TV.
How was the draw?
I don't remember looking at the crowd like too intense because the house lights would be just centered in the ring, but they all seemed into it. I mean, I don't get it. Like New York's and New York's your strongest market for them, so that's the litmus test right there.
Sure. I don't even know if you would have needed to even tested it. I think if you just put them at WrestleMania and gave you a build-up, no matches beforehand, those two could have pulled it off.
I think so.
If anyone else, like maybe not for others, but for those two, come on, Flair, Hogan,
and they didn't sell out the stadium either in the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. As we see Flair down at ringside, he's going to get himself involved. This sets the table for Royal Rumble. Okay, let's play the audio here.
Let's do it.
Continues to pummel away. Undertaker stops him dead in his tracks. Look at this. Give me a break. Come on, Rick. Oh, did he hit? A double cross at the last second. Tony, get up. Spots of the Hulkster prevailing. No. Tony, get up.
Talk about not selling the finish.
Yeah. Well, he's the Undertaker. Oh.
Uh-oh. Taking the ashes out of the ring. Ooh. The stuff he kicks now, huh? Good finish.
Yeah.
Exciting finish.
It was.
If you were a kid, you'd be jumping up and down.
Yes, I agree.
As would I.
Yes.
That was exciting. Right? There you go. I'm still stuck on why didn't they do Flair Hogan?
We'll never know.
I think it was a cool match. Do you think Hogan should have got the belt back, or do you think Flair should have intervened?
I mean,
I think this is where we saw the no lead up to WrestleMania 8. Actually, now that we're talking, if Undertaker kept it because of Flair, we would have had a lead up to WrestleMania 8.
What, with Hogan and Undertaker?
No, with Hogan and Flair.
So who would have Undertaker
So,
wrestled at
if-
WrestleMania 8 as the champion?
Well, no. What I'm saying is, if Undertaker stayed champion, right?
Yep.
Okay. He lost it somehow for the 92 Rumble. I don't remember how.
He lost this.
This is how.
This is how he lost
this
it.
Is, okay, so they were putting Rick over. They really should have had Rick jump in or do some. Okay, so now I understand. They didn't do the right setup for 8.
No,
As we're talking, I'm like, why didn't they do WrestleMania 8? I think we're kind of starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean,
because he takes the belt back, right? He grabs the belt back from Hulk.
Hogan wins, okay? And then because of the involvement of Jack Tunney with Hogan nailing Flair with the chair, Jack Tunney strips Hogan of the title and puts it up for the Royal Rumble. And that's when Flair wins it.
That's when Flair wins it. Okay, that makes sense. So then
Flair wins it, and then after he won it, they announced that he was going to wrestle Hogan. There was a press conference, and it was like Hogan, Savage, Piper, Undertaker, and Sid. Those were the top 5 contenders. Gotcha. And they were all at this press conference. And Jack Tunney announced that Hogan was going to be the one that was going to win, that won the opportunity. And then Sid was mad that Hogan got it over him.
Gotcha.
After Hogan helped eliminate him in the Rumble. So that's how they set up the seats for Hogan and Sid. So they did the old bait and switch. They teased us with Hogan and Flair, but they gave us Hogan and Sid instead.
Which is okay, but I don't remember that match too well.
No. The Warrior jumped in at the end.
Yeah, I remember that, but
the match was all right.
Hogan Flair.
Yeah.
You still could have put Nick.
I would have preferred Hogan Flair too. I definitely would have. Like I said, Hogan Flair, Jake and Savage in a cage, do Undertaker and Sid, 2 big guys, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty.
I like your pay-per-view, right?
Bret Hart and Roddy Piper, Intercontinental title. Those are your top 5 WrestleMania matches on just that card.
I really like your pay-per-view.
All right, good. I'm glad
I would have mowed lawns for that pay-per-view.
I would have robbed Peter to pay Paul to get that pay-per-view.
But
anyways, this was a lot of fun, man. Glad we got to watch this. This was a short little banger here. Thanks to Nick Opalewski for requesting this special request as we end 2022 here on Kicking Out at 2.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you to your listeners for putting up with me.
No, they put up with me, so I mean, they got to put up with you too. But I appreciate it. Appreciate all the love as we end 2022 on a high note here. Heading into 2023, got some Royal Rumble content for you coming up in the streams. Like I promised, next year. We're going to be watching the 1992 Royal Rumble match. We were supposed to watch it last year, but this basement that I record my podcast in wasn't up to par. There were some issues going on down here, so we had to postpone that. But we're going to celebrate it around Royal Rumble time next year in 2023. So, Dean, once again, thank you all so very much.
Thank you for having me.
For being here. This was a pleasure. I had a blast as always. And thank all of you for listening, downloading, supporting Kicking Out at 2, supporting Retromania. And I think it's about that time we put this show down for the 3 count. We'll see you all next year.